I move that the question be now put.
We haven't heard from Claire Curran.
Mr Chair, first of all, I have to say that I have to disagree with my colleague, the Honourable Trevor Mallard, on two particular matters. Usually we agree on most things, but I want to take issue with one thing, first of all, and that is that the people of Dunedin South are a pretty bright bunch, and I think they certainly do understand and I'm not going to cast aspersions on the intelligence or otherwise of my Dunedin colleague over there, Michael Woodhouse, but the people of Dunedin, who does live in my electorate, but I would like to say that they can recognise a rort when they see one, and this bill certainly is a rort. And the second thing I'd like to take issue with Trevor Mallard on is that and maybe it's because he likes horror movies, I'm not sure, but the speech given by Roger Douglas made me feel sick, and I certainly didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all. But perhaps that's because I actually don't like horror movies. I occasionally do try to watch them, but I'm not very good at watching them. The Rocky Horror Show, perhaps, and perhaps he could be follow in the proud tradition of a former Prime Minister of this country and end up being the narrator at some point, which would probably be a fitting thing for him to do, because seriously, the speech that he gave was a joke in terms of the meaning behind this bill. And I just want to share a story with you, because last week, after the House rose, I caught a cab to the airport, and in the fine Dunedin tradition, I shared that cab with my Dunedin colleagues so that I didn't sit in the cab on my own. And the cab driver listened to us talk, and this certainly has relevance to part one of the bill, Mr Chair, but the cab driver listened to us talk for a while about the week's events, and then he ventured his own opinion, and he said that he'd had enough. He'd been driving a cab and doing for about 15 years in this country, and had done okay, but in the last couple of years he just had enough. He couldn't make a living, he couldn't make ends meet, things were going up. He couldn't make what his living was, make it work, and he was heading off in 10 days' time to Australia. And this government that has made a claim that it's going to close the wages gap between Australia, and what it's doing is forcing more people overseas and to take that step. And that's the travesty of the speech that given by Roger Douglas before, talking about trading up provisions, flexibility, giving people choice, and saying that the reason a worker doesn't have the money, that the justification for this bill is to give people the money in order to take their family on a holiday. Well, pay them more money instead of making them trade off a week's leave. And that is not trading up, that's trading down. Workers' choice, flexibility, they're all code words for employers having more power in the relationship. And we all know that, the people of Dunedin South all know that, and it's a joke. And I feel ashamed to be in this House and listening to people speak like this. I'd also like to mention my colleague Sir William Seo and the speech that he gave, where he said that this bill is about screwing the workers and keeping wages low and giving people the awful choice of trading off an important part of what makes this country a good country, is having holidays, the right to have holidays, and forcing them to make that choice, and giving the employer the power to enforce that on them. And it is about screwing workers, keeping wages low, and affecting the most vulnerable workers. You know, New Zealanders work really hard, And I'd challenge any member in this House to disagree with that and to say that we are a nation of bludgers and that there are any workers in this country try to rip the system off.
They say it all the time.
We've got a strong work ethic.